Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give a minute for everyone to, if anyone wants to join me live. And I'm going to refresh my page here so I can see if anyone has any. Oh, I don't see myself on my. Oh, here we go. So here we are. So thank you, anyone who's joining me live. I'll just take a second to organize my notes here before we get started in case anyone wants to jump on with us. Hear me okay? Everyone can hear me? So tell me, are you in the path of the snow? I'm in southern New Jersey and it's supposed to start snowing here any minute with the potential to last for 3 days. So that's fun, right? I think. Or it could be rain. We never know. They never know, right? So let me know if you are joining me live. Can you pop into the chat, say hello, tell me where you're from, and if you're waiting for snow to arrive too, or if you're in another part of the world. So today is January 31st. So as you know, I have been doing a wine diet for all of January. Well, an all alcohol diet. I haven't been drinking any alcohol or wine. So now it's the 31st. So potentially I could start tomorrow. I probably won't. But I just thought that I would try to do it. I was starting to use wine just out of boredom because we're locked down, and I thought I was drinking it too often. So, I don't really drink to get drunk, but I'd like to have wine with dinner. I like to have a little actually, I'd like to have wine before dinner. I love to have a glass of wine while I'm chopping vegetables and things like that. So it just becomes a habit, really, and I haven't really missed it during the month. There was one day where I made a pasta dish for dinner, and it was kind of like a smoky flavor. It had some cheese on it, and I baked it in the oven, and I thought I could really use a nice glass of dry red wine with this, but I didn't have any, and you know what? I lived. So my plan is that from now on, I'm going to buy wine less often and maybe try to buy a little bit better quality wine, because sometimes I have a sparkling wine that I love that's only $10. And so, it's easy to buy a $10 bottle of wine too often. And then some of the red wines that I buy probably range from, $12 to $16, something like that. So I'm thinking of up-leveling my wine a little bit and just buying it less frequently. So the same thing that I'm doing for all of January. I haven't been snacking. I've really been trying to eat healthy foods and lots of vegetables. So since I've elevated my food game a little bit, I think I'm going to continue on with that. And I'm also going to try to elevate my wine along with it and just have it less frequently. So tell me if you have tried to do the same. I know a lot of people do dry January, and I'd love to hear from you. So let's see what else I have for you today. So after this 4 weeks, I just want to talk a little bit about how I feel. And I really feel great. The whole reason that I wanted to give up wine in the first place was that I was kind of feeling some brain fog, and I was thinking that it could be the wine. And when you have brain fog, it's a little hard to be efficient and productive. And I had a lot of things that I had scheduled for myself to work on this year, new projects that I wanted to start. And I really wanted to just hit the ground running and get rid of that brain fog. And I think it really did clear up the brain fog. And I do feel better. And I think that adding it back in less frequently, I'm going to do it a little at a time and see if the brain fog comes back, and then I'll move on from there. But it has made me feel really good. And even I haven't been snacking, and like I said, I've been eating a lot of vegetables, and I lost between 5 and 7 pounds, depending on when I get on the scale. Sometimes it says I've lost 7, sometimes it goes back up, depending on what time of day that I weigh myself and what I'm wearing when I weigh myself. And I don't even think that would be something that you may not notice, but I can notice it myself. So like last week I had said, I noticed when I put on a necklace, it didn't seem quite as tight. It was hanging looser, and that shows me progress. And I've noticed too that around here, like right around where my bra strap would fall, I feel less fleshy, if that makes sense. So I am seeing progress, even though you may not see it. I think you might see it a little bit in my face is a little bit thinner. I was really getting a little puffy there. So I want to continue to do that. I'm not giving up. I have, a certain number in mind of what I want to lose, but I really want to do it slowly and healthfully, and just so that everything has a chance to bounce back to where it's supposed to be. So hello, anyone who is watching me live, and please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. And if you're watching the replay, the chat box will disappear when the live stream ends, but the comment section will open down below. So feel free to ask questions then, and I can answer them in next week's session, or I can answer them right in the comment section. So let's see what else I have to talk to you about today. I've had a lot of people comment sometimes when I mention some of the foods that I've bought, and they're just like, oh, I really wish I had your supermarket near me. I can't find those leafy greens. Or they talk about how they can't find certain ingredients. And I didn't realize that so many supermarkets across the country were so different. The main supermarket that I like to go to here doesn't really have a big green selection. They usually have spinach and chard, and they'll have broccoli rabe, and they'll have kale. And that's fine, but I have another supermarket near me that's a whole different brand. And when I go there, I guess it depends on the buyer, but when I go there, they have everything. They have dandelion greens and turnip tops and beet greens and mustard greens and chicory, and their green section is amazing. And I know they buy a lot from local farms, and where I am in New Jersey, there is a lot of farmland. And so maybe that helps us have more readily available produce in the supermarkets. I have a comment. Winter veggies are hard to find. Not winter veggies, but the leafy greens. Well, I mean, the winter veggies that I think of are like the root vegetables, like parsnips and turnips and rutabagas. I see plenty of them in both supermarkets. But I do have people telling me that they can't find a lot of the greens and maybe some of the more exotic things. I do have a Whole Foods that I go to when I want to find something special, but it's a 30-minute drive away. So I don't go there that often, but it's the only place that I can find things like celery root or daikon radish, or some of the more specialty items or some specialty fruits, and they have a huge selection of all different kinds of things. But it is a 30-minute drive, so I would just encourage you to look around. You don't have to go shopping right in your area. Maybe I know it's a commitment sometimes, but to drive a little bit out of your way and see if you can find the ingredients that you want. And like I do it, and I'll do it on a day when I know I can make a day of it. Let me take a sip of water. So I'll make a whole day out of it, and it's a fun thing, and it's near an area that I like to go to have lunch and things like that, and I haven't really done that because of lockdown. I haven't been going out, but I hadn't been there for a long time during this whole lockdown period. And I just went last week or the week before, and I hadn't been there in so long, and I really missed it. And I did find celery root, which I don't cook with that often, but I think it's also called celeriac. And it's like a big root vegetable, and it's related to celery in some way, and it's really delicious. And I just chopped it up and sautéed it a little. Well, I boiled it first, and then I sautéed it a little bit, and I put it in a pasta dish. I cut it up in little tiny cubes, and it sort of has a celery-ish flavor, but milder. It's just really tasty, and it's really good for you. So don't be afraid to go out of your way to go find the foods that you need. And perhaps even try, if you have a little area behind your house or something, like a backyard, maybe you can try to grow something. And even if you don't have a yard, maybe in some pots. You can definitely grow herbs if you can't find some of the fresh herbs. They're really easy to grow in their kitchen in little pots. Like I grow basil grows really easily, and actually basil will kind of explode. You plant it and it just keeps growing. So then when you have basil, you can throw it in pasta dishes. It's great on bruschetta, or you can make pesto. Rosemary is also really easy to grow. And rosemary is so good with chicken, or even with fish. Like sometimes I'll roast a whole chicken, and I'll just sprinkle some rosemary sprigs around it, and it makes the gravy and everything just taste so good and makes the house smell so good. Sometimes I even want to throw rosemary just in a little pot of water and boil it just so my house smells lovely. So think about trying to grow some herbs in your kitchen. That's another alternative. My sister even grows things like lemon balm, and then she makes tea out of it. She has a whole concoction that she makes it. She swears by, where she puts ginger root and some lemon balm and some mint and things together in a pot, and she boils it, and then she drinks that as like an iced tea, sort of as an elixir. Excuse me. So there's all kinds of things that you can experiment with and try just on your own. And don't forget about dried herbs as well. Dried herbs are still really good for you. Like I put oregano on almost everything. And oregano is full of antioxidants. It has calcium, it has potassium. And you wouldn't think so when it's dried. You think, oh, I have to eat it fresh. But actually, oregano is better for you when it's dried. Something like basil is better when it's fresh. But oregano you can sprinkle on almost anything, on pizza, on pasta. And it's a staple of the Mediterranean diet. So let me know if you have trouble finding ingredients. Maybe I can try to give you some substitutes or things like that. It was kind of shocking to me that people said they can't find certain things, like even the basics like dandelion greens. I mean, dandelions grow on your lawn, right? I mean, you don't want to pick them off your lawn if they have any kind of pesticides or anything on them. But, some of those things they grow like weeds. And it's kind of shocking when they don't have them in the supermarket. So someone from my newsletter, one of my newsletter readers wrote to me and said they recommended a little mini documentary to me. So I'm switching gears now. And I hadn't heard of it, and she said it's on Netflix. She's in New Zealand, but she said it was on her Netflix. So I checked our Netflix in the U.S., and it was there. And it's a half-hour documentary called "What Would Sophia Loren Do?" And I just love the title of that. And it was really basically about a woman. I think she lives in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and she loves Sophia Loren and watched all her movies growing up. And she's an Italian American, and at different points in her life, if she didn't know what to do, she would think to herself, well, what would Sophia Loren do? And she thinks back to a lot of her movies when she was, a lot of times Sophia Loren was a very strong character in movies. And just fun and flirty, but also just a strong character and loving. And she always played these wonderful characters. And it was a really sweet documentary. So if you have Netflix, look for What Would Sophia Loren Do? I think it was 32, maybe 34 minutes long. And I just enjoyed it so much. I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to make my whole family watch it because it was so cute. And because it starts out with for the preview about it, the woman was saying, oh, my kids always tell me, Mom, you should get some more exercise. You should do this. Oh, you should go on a diet. Oh, you should eat this. Have you tried this food? And then one day they said to her, you know what? Have you ever tried whole wheat pasta? And she was like, hold on. Wait a minute. I'm Italian. What would Sophia Loren do in this situation? Because Sophia Loren is not going to eat whole wheat pasta. So I like to tell people who always ask me about pasta alternatives, you don't have to eat all those pasta alternatives. If you like them, there's nothing wrong with them. Go ahead. Try whole wheat pasta if you want to. Personally, I think whole wheat pasta kind of, it ruins it for me. It kind of tastes like cardboard, but there are a lot of other ones that have improved upon whole wheat pasta. So I just eat pasta. I just eat it in moderation. But anyway, getting off track. Look for What Would Sophia Loren Do? I think you'll really enjoy it. It was a really sweet documentary, and she's such a lovely person, and I'm really rooting for her to win the Oscar this year. A Special Day with Marcello Mastroianni. Oh, is that one of her movies? I know she made a lot of movies with Marcello Mastroianni. I love him. Oh my God, he's so cute. I know that they made that movie together. Was it Marriage Italian Style or something like that? Was that with him? And and the woman even mentions in one of their movies, she does a little strip tease for him, and and she said one time she tried to do that for her husband. She was like, I just thought it would be fun. Even Sophia Loren even taught me how to spice up my marriage. And there's a really funny movie that they made it together when they're older, and they recreate that scene. And she's trying to do the striptease thing for him, and he falls asleep. So they're just adorable. They're an adorable couple. So anyway, let me know if you love Sophia Loren. And if you do watch that, I'll put a link to the documentary down below when I'm done here. And anything I mention, I will put a link down below. So let's see. The only other thing I had to talk about, unless anyone has any questions, is I came across a quote, and I want to read it to you. It's by Walt Whitman, and it's real short, but it's, be curious, not judgmental. So I think the quote, when I read the quote, I was reading it in a book, and it was in the context of not judging other people and being curious about them. So you see somebody, we all make snap judgments about things all the time without even having a lot of information. Sort of that first impression thing. We immediately form judgments. And to try to be curious about people instead. And so instead of saying like, oh, why is he doing that? Be curious about it. Be like, oh, I wonder why he's doing that. But what I really think is more important, that a lot of times we turn this stuff on ourselves. So be curious, not judgmental. Don't judge yourself. Be more curious about your own behavior. So if you have cravings late at night and you want to eat a piece of chocolate cake, instead of judging yourself and saying, I'm never going to lose weight, so I might as well just eat this cake. Be curious instead and think, I wonder why I'm craving this chocolate cake when I had a nice dinner. What is the cause of this? So try to be curious about things like that, because sometimes there's a deeper meaning behind things that we do. And sometimes snacking for me in the evening is something that's my danger zone. Because sometimes I get bored. We'll eat dinner and then maybe I'll get wrapped up in a TV show, and it's just a habit to immediately want to like pop something in your mouth, and it's usually chips or popcorn or something like that. And that's what I really cut out for the past month. So if you do get those kind of cravings in the evening, don't judge yourself right away. Like, don't be like, oh, I have no self-control. You know, those are the kind of things that we say to ourselves, which you probably wouldn't even say to your best friend, right? But you say it to yourself all the time. Be curious instead and be like, why am I craving food right now? Is it because I associate food with television watching? You know, or is it because I'm bored, or am I really hungry? You know, sometimes maybe you are hungry, so maybe you can eat a healthier snack. But sometimes those things are habits. So don't judge yourself. Be curious about these little things that happen in your life instead. All right, well, we've been going for about 16 minutes, and I don't see any questions online. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time to type them in the chat box. And if not, you can always, if you think of something later, you can always put a question in the comment section. And again, if you're watching the replay, feel free to ask me any questions. And if you would like me to address an issue live on my next show, please say, hey, next week, could you talk about this? And I will be happy to do that. So I hope that you are staying warm. I'm hoping that we don't get bombarded with snow. I'm looking out the window and I don't see it falling yet, although they said it was supposed to start around 11. So I think that's all for today. And I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.